My dad collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. I need to be with him, so I can't go on our honeymoon. You'll have to go alone. Suddenly, my eagerly anticipated honeymoon was canceled. My husband insists I should go alone, but who on earth goes on a honeymoon alone? When someone appeared in front of me the next moment, I felt my legs go weak. There stood my father-in-law, who was supposed to have been taken to the hospital. Father-in-law, why are you here? My name is Sarah. I've been living with Mark for 5 years, and he finally proposed just this summer. Reflecting back, these 5 years felt long. After dating for about a year, we started visiting Mark's parents' home, and he also had the opportunity to meet my out-of-town parents. Yet he kept saying, "We'll get married once work stabilizes," without making a firm commitment. Eventually, he began jokingly suggesting, "Why don't we just stay like this?" This started to concern me. "Mark, I'm approaching 30. If you're not going to be upfront with me, we should break up." After saying all that, Mark finally proposed to me. We were already close with each other's parents and had discussed everything from what we wanted at the wedding to where we wanted to go on our honeymoon. All that was left was to execute those plans. We'd hold a small ceremony with only our closest friends and family. The only event left was our honeymoon. Mark was going to spend the day at his parents' home to spend some time with them. I had dinner with my parents, who had come from out of town and later returned home alone. I checked the luggage for the honeymoon and sent a message to Mark's phone before I went to bed. "Mark, you've done great today. I'm all set for our honeymoon tomorrow. I'm really excited about our trip to Italy." However, I didn't hear back from Mark. I thought to myself, he must have fallen asleep from exhaustion from the ceremony. I hope he doesn't oversleep for our flight tomorrow. Feeling a little nervous, I eventually fell asleep. The next morning, I was awakened by a call from Mark. "Sarah, something terrible has happened." He started speaking rapidly the moment I picked up. "My dad collapsed and he's been rushed to the hospital. You'll have to go on our honeymoon alone today." "What? What do you mean?" I couldn't help but let out a bewildered exclamation. "But your father was so full of life at our wedding yesterday, wasn't he?" "I'm as shocked as you are, Sarah. I'm going to stay by his side, but you go ahead without me." "Don't be ridiculous. If your father's ill, there's no way I can leave for our honeymoon. Who on earth goes on a honeymoon alone?" I asked for the hospital his father was taken to, but Mark stubbornly refuses to tell me. "If I told you, you'd come to visit, wouldn't you?" "Of course I would." "Dad knows how much you've been looking forward to going to Italy. He insisted that I should still let you go. Please respect his wishes. There's no way I can enjoy myself with everything that's going on. Are you planning to come join me once he's feeling better?" "Of course. I'll come as soon as things are settled here." "Settled? Don't jinx it by saying as soon as things are settled. Please, let me handle things here and proceed to Italy as planned. I'm about to arrive at the hospital, so I won't be able to pick up your calls. Talk to you later." Wait, Mark." Without listening to my attempts to communicate, he abruptly hung up the phone. I tried to call back immediately, but it seemed like he had turned off his phone. With no way to reach him and not knowing the name of the hospital, I couldn't rush to my father-in-law's side. As I stood there, feeling helpless, suddenly the doorbell rang. The moment I opened the door, I felt my legs go weak. Father-in-law? Standing at the door was my father-in-law, who was supposed to be in the hospital after an emergency transport. "Your legs, they're okay. I'm glad." What are you talking about?" My father-in-law looked clueless as I made sure I was not seeing a ghost. "Are you feeling all right?" "Oh, I drank a bit too much at the wedding yesterday, but I felt great by the time I got up this morning. I'm definitely sober by now, and I was able to drive fine, so I came to pick you up after dropping Mark off." "After dropping Mark off?" "Yeah, you're going on your honeymoon, right? I dropped him off at the station, but then I realized I should have come to pick up you too. Let me take you to LaGuardia." I was quite confused. My father-in-law, who was supposed to be in the hospital, and Mark, who was supposed to be accompanying him there, and drop my son off at the station? Nothing made sense. That's when I realized something. My father-in-law mentioned LaGuardia. If we're going to Italy, we should be going to JFK, not LaGuardia Airport. You just said you'd take me to LaGuardia, but our honeymoon is in Italy. Oh yes, that's what I thought too. I was surprised when Mark told me this morning. We've changed at the last minute and decided to go to Alaska instead. Alaska? The more I heard, the more my mind was filled with question marks. Mark said, "We're going to Alaska." Yeah, he did. He left a note in the car. My father-in-law showed me a post-it that Mark had dropped off in the back seat. It had the name of an inn in Alaska and a flight from LaGuardia to Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport written on it. The moment I saw it, the puzzle pieces began to click into place. Could you please take me to LaGuardia after all? Of course. There shouldn't be too much traffic. We'll probably arrive around the same time as Mark's train. Thank you so much. Throughout the journey, I couldn't help but reflect on Mark's actions up to now. Whether my hypothesis is correct or not will be confirmed the moment I find Mark at the airport. I thanked my father-in-law and headed into the airport. Near the check-in counter for the flight written on the post-it, I spotted Mark right away. He was arm in arm with a young woman, effortlessly selecting drinks together. I knew it. He had been cheating on me all along. The affair probably started while we were living together. His hesitation to get married was probably due to her. And not just having an affair, but going on a trip with his mistress on the day of our honeymoon. I stood defiantly in front of them. Mark, about to exit the store after buying drinks, saw me, and his mouth fell open. Sarah? What are you doing here? Right back at you. Why are you, who should have been at the hospital taking care of your father, at a place like this? I just came to do some shopping. Shopping? You came all the way to LaGuardia just to buy a bottle of water? Yeah, Dad was begging for some airport water. That's funny you say that because I was just with your father. Eh? Your father came to pick me up in his car. He seemed to be doing great, which was a big surprise. Oh, that's right. After our call, he suddenly bounced back. His vitality always amazes me. Mark seemed determined to stick to his lie. Amidst my astonishment, a thought crossed my mind. I want to witness the kind of excuse this man will come up with next. So, who is this woman right here? Where were you two planning on going? She's the nurse who was in charge of Dad. We're on our way to check out a rehabilitation facility for him in Alaska. This excuse is just too painful to hear. I was dumbfounded and I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Enough. Your foolish lies are giving me a headache. It's not a lie. She's really my dad's... Mark's words were cut short by a voice from behind. My what? When I turned around, there stood my father-in-law. Father-in-law? I thought you headed home. I noticed something was off with you, Sarah, so I parked the car and followed you. It seems like it was the right choice. With his father before him, Mark, realizing that his lies weren't working, was visibly acting suspicious. In response to his behavior, my father-in-law asked in a stern voice, So who is this woman? Just as Mark started fumbling for words, the woman beside him broke the silence. I'm Amy, Mark's girlfriend. Upon hearing this, Mark swiftly covered her mouth. Hey, what are you saying? You have to speak clearly, Mark. You don't love your wife. Hurry up and get a divorce with her. Wait, just be quiet. Why should I? You promised to leave your wife to be with me. Isn't that why you chose me over her today? That's because you threatened me by saying if you don't go to Alaska with me today, I'll expose our relationship. I see, so that's what it is. I coldly told him. So in other words, you were having an affair with that woman. Then Amy glared at me and retorted, It's not an affair. Mark and I are serious about each other. He never wanted to marry you. By this point, I didn't even feel like arguing. That's fine. Do as you please. Leaving the two of them there, my father-in-law and I exited the airport. It was 5 days later that Mark returned home. The doorbell rang, and so I talked to him through the intercom. "Sarah, I can't unlock the door. Can you open it for me?" "Oh, about the lock. I changed it." "You changed it? Why would you do something like that without telling me?" "I don't like the idea of a stranger having a spare key to my home." "A stranger? Are you talking about me?" "Who else would I be talking about? I've already prepared the divorce papers, so just quickly sign them." Wait a minute. Let me in first. We can talk after that." Keeping the door chain on, I passed the divorce papers through the crack. "There's nothing for us to talk about. Once you sign the papers, can you leave immediately?" "Don't be so angry. I've decided to break up with Amy." "Huh? What do you mean?" "Well, she's terrible. I agreed to go to Alaska because she threatened to expose our relationship, and all she did was complain that the inn was old-fashioned and the weather was bad. It wasn't fun at all. So I clearly told Amy I have no intention of divorcing my wife. Please break up with me." I couldn't care less whether you and that girl break up or not. The only choice I have is a divorce, even if you don't agree." "Don't say that. Are you angry because we couldn't go to Italy? Well, it's a little late, but shall we go now? Are you out of your mind? How can you even suggest that?" I was wrong to think that I could have a reasonable conversation with him for even a second. There's no way a man who cancels his honeymoon and goes on a trip with his mistress has a reasonable thought process. "Sign the divorce papers right here, right now. And also, sign this document." I handed him another document through the crack. "What is this document?" I had prepared this through a lawyer while he was away on his trip. It was a written agreement for the payment of alimony and the cancellation fee for our honeymoon. "Look, I'm saying I don't want a divorce. You're the one who wants a divorce, so why on earth do I have to pay alimony? I'm saying I want to give us another shot." Seriously, there's a limit to how much common sense you can ignore. It's evident that infidelity comes with consequences like this alimony. The decision to start over or not isn't yours to make, considering you're the one who cheated. And what's this cancellation fee about? We don't get a travel fee refund because we canceled our trip on the day. Since it was you who caused the cancellation, it's only right that you pay for all of it, isn't it? I told you go alone. Not going was your decision. How could I possibly go on honeymoon alone? Not only that, but you also lied about your father being critically ill to cover up your affair. There's no way I could have gone in that situation. Well, I really wanted to go to Italy with you too, but I was threatened by Amy and had no other choice. You wouldn't want your husband to lose his job because he's exposed at work, would you?" "She threatened to expose you at work?" "Yeah, that's right. If she says she's going to do it, she will. It's all Amy's fault." "Surely Amy does have a kind of vibe where you can't predict what she might do once she sets her mind to it. Considering she even declared, 'I'm his girlfriend,' directly to his wife, she must be quite a wild one." In fact, I was relieved. With an opponent like Amy, Mark would self-destruct even if I didn't do anything. All that was left to do was somehow to get him to sign the divorce papers. Pretending to be worried, I deliberately asked him, "Hey, are you sure it's okay for you to be here?" "What do you mean?" "You broke up with Amy, right? Wasn't she angry?" "Of course she was angry, but I'm done with her." "Well, you might be fine, but what about Amy? Given her personality, I wouldn't be surprised if she storms into your office and exposes you." "Indeed, that would be disastrous. I need to go to the office and stop Amy." "Sarah, please, pass me my company key card." "This one?" I pulled out Mark's company key card from his drawer and showed it to him. "Yeah, that's the one." I quickly shook off Mark's hands as he tried to take it through the chain gap. "I'll give you the key card in exchange for your signature on the divorce papers and the payment agreement for the bill." "But..." With this, Mark would probably agree and sign. "Have you decided? You better hurry. Amy may beat you to the office." "Ah, all right." Reluctantly, Mark signed all the documents and passed them through the door gap. "Here, this is good enough, right? Hurry up and give me the key card." Once I handed over the key card, Mark ran off, heading towards the office. I went to the courthouse to submit the divorce papers as well as hand the signed payment agreement to my lawyer. It was a relief that at least the money issues had been sorted out. The next day, I received a frantic call from Mark. "Hello?" "Ah, Sarah, What do you want? We are legally strangers now. We have nothing to talk about. Wait, don't hang up on me. Mark pleaded desperately. Feeling a little curious about what happened, I decided to listen to his story. So, what do you want? I was called by the board when I got to the office today. Everyone knows I had an affair even though I got ahead of Amy. Isn't that weird? Oh, that's because I told them. What? You told the board? Well, I felt sorry for them because they came to our wedding, but we got divorced so soon. You seemed busy with Amy, so I decided to explain the reason for our divorce to our guests. Guests? You mean not just the board? You told everyone at my office? Yes, when I told them my husband preferred a cheatcation over our honeymoon, everyone was appalled. But how am I supposed to face everyone at work going forward? You don't have to hide your true self anymore. Isn't that a good thing? Huh. Don't mess with me. You ruined my life. I should be saying that to you. I wish I could reclaim the 5 years I wasted on someone like you. When I raised my voice, he had nothing more to say. Why don't you just be with Amy? If her feelings for you are so strong, wouldn't she support you even if you quit your job? No way. Nothing good happens when I'm with that woman. The only one who can support me is you, Sarah. Well, nothing good happens when I'm with you. If you want support, you should think about other people's feelings a bit more before you act. Yeah, I truly regret it. So let's try again. No chance. How about reflecting, turning over a new leaf, and getting back into the dating scene? Oh, and maybe find a job first. Sarah, don't abandon me. You're the one who betrayed me first. You'll just have to live with your regret. I ended the call abruptly. After that, it seems Mark returned to his parents' house to borrow some money a few times. But my father-in-law, who had been made out to be gravely ill without him knowing and moreover was used as an excuse for Mark's infidelity, was furious. Eventually, he cut ties with Mark. Mark found it increasingly uncomfortable to be at his company and ended up quitting. His job hunting didn't go well, and it seems he's barely making a living by working part-time at a convenience store. On the other hand, I moved into a new home with the alimony from Mark. Even though I changed the door locks, it felt uncomfortable living in a place my ex-husband knew about. Mark's parents helped me move. They probably saw it as a way to atone for their son's misdeeds. I still occasionally chat as well as have meals with them. I won't get back the 5 years I spent with Mark, but I'm going to find a better man next time.